Hello everyone, welcome to Court with Krissy. Time for a small claims court case. This plaintiff's client is not very happy. Paid for 6 inches and got 5. Full disclosure, the client, it's his wife, and we're talking gutters. Full disclosure part 2, we don't know the outcome yet. Both parties don't even know what the verdict is. So, you know I love a good update. Check back in the community page, maybe 3 months. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
And then giving the rest of any statement you would like to make to support your claim under oath. Once that process has been completed, you may then call your witnesses if you believe they're necessary for your case. Okay. All right? So, sir, if you'd please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter presently before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and this you do under the penalties of perjury?
Yes.
You may be seated. And, sir, I'd ask that you speak directly into that lighted microphone because everything's being recorded here. So now that you're under oath, let me ask you a few questions so I make sure I understand your claim. Mr. Myers, you're seeking the court to award you $3,500. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And this is for an installation of exterior materials, and you allege a violation of a contract.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Myers, why don't you just give me, let's go kind of in order. When did you and Ms. Williams first communicate about a contract for work?
Oh.
Just month and year.
March 2025.
Okay, so in March of 25, who contacted who?
It was kind of slightly complicated because we were both at the property at the same time. So it was kind of mutual, if that makes sense.
Okay. Do you own this property?
No.
Okay. So why were you interested in getting repairs made to it?
I'm operating as what I would call a general contractor on it. There's a pretty long list of remedies that need done.
Okay, so you are a general contractor, okay, and do you do business as Josiah Myers?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a general contractor and you needed some sub work done, is that correct?
Yes.
And so you then contacted the defendant, or...
We were both at the property at the same time. She is related to one of the tenants that are there.
All right.
The
So
gentleman behind
you
it.
engaged in a discussion with her
Yes.
at that time. Okay. And what was it you were looking to do?
Fascia board, fascia cover, and gutters.
Okay, so... And did you speak with Miss Williams about replacing all of this material?
Yes.
Did she give you an estimate?
Yes.
Was it oral or in writing?
It was oral at first, but it was in writing
All
eventually.
right. Do you have a copy of the written estimate?
On my phone, but I did not bring a copy of the written estimate. It was over text.
Okay. And is that the text that is attached to your complaint?
I believe it is attached, but I
Okay.
cannot swear to that. There's a payment receipt where I sent money, and then I thought I attached the contract, but I cannot swear to that. It's been a couple months.
All right. So what was your understanding that the contract provided for?
The contract, in my understanding, was to provide installation of new fascia board where it was necessary, fascia cover basically across the whole premises, and 6-inch seamless gutters.
All right. And what was the total purchase price you agreed to pay for this work?
Eventually, after discussion and negotiation, $4,500.
Did you make any agreement as to when the work would be commenced or finished?
Not overriding, but I mean, she basically told me that as soon as I paid, she would start on it right away.
All right. And so you agree to pay a total of $4,500 for replacement of needed fascia board, fascia covers, and gutters.
Yes.
Okay. So how much did you pay on the contract?
I paid $3,500.
Okay. Did the defendant commence work after you made the partial payment?
Yes.
Okay. And approximately when did you make the partial payment?
I believe it was that same day or the next day.
Okay, so also in March of 2025?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so work commenced, then tell me what happened.
Work commenced. I have another job too, so I was at that job. I think it was probably 2 days after work commenced, but I'm not gonna swear to that. And I got several calls from her, which my other job is I work as a mechanic, so my hands were completely covered in grease, and so I did not answer my phone. And eventually I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, so I do my best to answer those because that's how I get new business. And I answered that call, and it was her wife, is my understanding. And basically, they insinuated that I was trying to not pay the rest and not meet them over there. And I told them that I was going to meet them over there, which is going to be a little later in the day. And so when I eventually made it over there,
So let me back up.
Yep.
In this phone conversation, was it presented to you that the work had been finished and they were seeking payment?
Yes.
Okay, so you were told that this work you contracted for had been finished.
Yep.
And who told you that?
I'm not going to swear that Cassie told me that, but that was the implication that I drew.
Okay, so you drew that the work had finished and that the defendant was seeking the balance of payment.
Yep.
All right. So then what happened?
I went over there, I would say early that afternoon. I believe it was between 2 and 3 o'clock. And I met John there. And, well, one of the first things I noticed is I know enough about gutters to know the difference very quickly on visual inspection to know the difference between 5-inch and 6-inch and seamless and non-seamless gutters. So I noticed that. I raised the complaint.
So you noticed that these gutters were not the type of gutters that you believe you had contracted for.
Correct.
Okay. And what, in your opinion, was put on there instead of the 6-inch seamless gutters?
They put on 5-inch seamed gutters. And I have pictures of that.
All right. And so when you brought this to the defendant's attention, what happened?
She said that they could discount the price further. Believe I have on text message where the agreement that she came to was I would only owe them $300. And I was like, well, like, that sounds okay, but it's not entirely up to me because I'm not the homeowner. And so there was other work that she said that she would do. And I contacted the homeowner. The homeowner is not satisfied at all. Mainly, if I'm being honest, more about the fact that they're seamed gutters, not that they're 6-inch. Me, as a general contractor, I definitely prefer 6-inch gutters just because you don't have to clean them nearly
Did
as
your
often.
client contract with you for 6-inch seamless gutters?
It was a verbal.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
so your client, the owner of this property,
Yes.
directed you as a contractor to install certain things.
Yes.
Okay.
Full disclosure, the owner is my wife.
Okay. All right. So, you noticed that so you explained to the defendant that the owner was dissatisfied and you were dissatisfied. She offered to respond to this by discounting the price.
Basically discounting the price by about $700.
Okay. Did you accept that?
I said that it sounded okay, but I would have to talk to the owner.
Okay, and then what happened?
I talked to the owner, my wife, and she's like, no, that's not acceptable at all. And so that's when I texted Jonda, and things got, I don't want to say heated because we weren't talking on the phone, but tense.
Okay, so you recontacted the defendant and said the owner of this property is not willing to accept this compromise. And what did you instruct the defendant to do?
She seemed to be of the opinion that there was a decent amount of value in materials on the property. And so I said, okay, we're not happy at all because you didn't do what was contracted to do. So you can come get your materials and give me my money back. Or I gave her a number, and I don't remember the exact number that it was, that would have been less, like she would have ended up having to give us money back. And we can just call it like it is, and I will either get somebody else to fix the gutters that are there or replace the gutters that are there at my own cost.
All right, so sir, you demanded then that the defendant pick up any remaining materials. And did you tell the defendant you expected the gutters to be replaced with the 6-inch seamless?
I did at first, but once things got tense, I realized that it wasn't going to get done that way. And so my preference was just for them to come get their materials and gutters, and I would have somebody else do it right.
All right, and you were at that time requesting a full refund of the $3,500 that you had paid for the work thus far.
Yep.
So you were at that point demanding a full refund and the defendant pick up remaining materials, and then you would move forward with a new subcontractor.
Correct.
Did that happen?
No.
Okay. All right, and sir, do you have anything else you would like to say in support of your claim?
I don't think so.
And you said you have witnesses you would like to call?
I do, and I also have exhibits.
All right, what exhibits are they?
They're just exhibits of text messages that I exchanged with the defendant, and a text message that I exchanged.
All right, so let's refer to them one by one so I can understand what you're referring to. Okay,
Absolutely.
so first document is what?
Exhibit 1 is text messages that I exchanged with the defendant that make it clear that I was asking for 6-inch gutters.
Okay, and are those the same text messages that were attached to the complaint?
No, they were not attached to the complaint.
All right, then I'll need to see those.
I have 3 copies here.
All right.
Here, no, but you can give a copy of it.
That is.
Is that good? Is this one
Yep.
recorded now?
It doesn't really
They're all the
matter to
same?
me. They're all the exact same.
Okay, so we will mark this. Sir, to distinguish between documents you've attached and documents you're bringing here today, this one's going to be marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit A.
Okay. I marked them as one on the back, but
All right,
that's my.
then I'm going to remark them so
Okay.
that we are clear about
Okay. Yep. Absolutely.
our reference.
So the top one is Exhibit A.
Okay, so. And these are a series of text messages where you make reference to flexibility on color, but you were definitely wanting 6 inches.
Correct.
6-inch gutters. Okay.
because I was initially wanting black gutters, but she explained that she could not do 6-inch gutters in black. And I was like, well, I would rather have the 6-inch and we can go with white gutters. That's
All right. Okay.
the second exhibit, which will probably be labeled B, is a text message that was exchanged with another contractor that does gutters. And in that, he basically says that 6-inch isn't necessarily that big of a deal, but he would take down the gutters that are there if it was him and put on seamless gutters.
Okay, so did you contact this person to complete the work after you terminated the defendant?
I contracted him to potentially just get an idea of the best fix for.
All right, and did he give you an estimate for that fix?
He did give me an estimate. I believe it was $4,700 for everything.
All right. Okay, so why don't you hand the small claims administrator your exhibit B as
Something that's already attached?
Yes, it's already attached.
Okay. It's the second page
It's the second page.
on this.
And then the third page is just pictures of the work that was done. So should these have been 3 separate
all right,
pages?
so, sir, the third photograph.
Yes.
You indicated this is pictures of the work that was done. Who took these pictures?
I took them.
When were they taken?
Probably
After the defendant did work?
Yes, this would have been probably mid-April, I would guess.
After you terminated the defendant?
Yes.
And, sir, how much was the estimate that the company gave you to, and where is it? This text does not have any estimate on it.
I don't have that in my exhibits.
Okay, so how did you decide how much it's gonna cost you to fix this?
By contacting various people. I mean, I have estimates ranging from $4,700.
All right, that's what we're here about. So I will need to see any estimates that you have of repairing this work that you claim the defendant did not correctly complete in order for you to prove your damages. So I'll need to see those right now.
I don't have those.
You got estimates
Yes.
and you didn't bring them today?
No.
All right. So what it forms the basis then of the $3,500?
Contract violation.
Okay. But you have to show me how you are economically harmed. So tell me what it's going to cost you to replace all of the work that the defendant did.
$4,700 was the cheapest estimate that I got on it. I mean,
Okay.
I have those. I did not see how they were relevant, just because to me this is.
Well, sir, they're very relevant because
Okay.
on a breach of contract, the court has to establish the appropriate damages under Ohio law. And the damages are not necessarily the refund of the purchase price. It's the cost. It's whatever this cost you to get you to where you would have been had the defendant performed. That's the standard Ohio law requires, so that's why I'm asking for the
Okay.
estimates. So you believe it will cost you approximately $4,700 to correct what the defendant did to the property.
Yes.
What work was done to your satisfaction? There were 3 pieces here. The fascia board, fascia covers. We know the gutters are unacceptable. Okay? So what other work is unacceptable to you?
Some of the fascia is not fastened properly.
Okay.
It's hard to see the actual fascia board now, just because it's got a fascia cover on it and gutters on it too. And without deconstructing, I wouldn't really know all that's wrong.
Okay, you're the contractor.
Yes.
So you tell me then, what of this work was completed to your satisfaction, and what was not, and why?
There are some areas where the fascia has pretty significant waves in it, and I understand that they were working on an older property, so some of that's acceptable. However, they were supposed to what's called scab in on the trusses to alleviate some of that, and I don't believe, in my opinion, enough of that was done. But I understand that there's some gray area in understanding. You know what I mean? Like, I said something, she said something, and, you know, somewhere in the
Okay,
middle is...
How long have you been a contractor?
12 years.
Okay. In your professional opinion as a contractor, what is the value that you would charge for the work that was actually done? Not the stuff you're not satisfied with, the stuff that was done.
That's a really good question.
Well, that's what Ohio law requires me to ask.
Probably about $1,500.
Okay, so you believe that, in your professional opinion as a contractor, that $1,500 of the work that was done by Miss Williams was at least acceptable to you. Okay. Okay. And then do you have your witnesses to call?
I do.
All right, and you may call your first witness.
You guys have
You need to say the name. Who is it?
Bobby Bender.
All right. Sir, if you'd step up to the witness box and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter presently before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And this you do under the penalties of perjury.
I do.
You may be seated, and sir, please speak directly into the lighted microphone. And can you spell your name for me?
Bobby.
Okay. And last name?
Bender.
D-E-R? Thank you.
Der.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Bender, what do you know about this circumstance? How are you connected to this?
I'm the one that's renting the place. I was out there watching my sister do the work. Well, actually, it was somebody that was working for her doing the work, and my other stepsister. So there was two people there, my stepsister and her boyfriend. He was doing the work, actually, her and him. There was stuff that just wasn't getting done that was supposed to be done. The fascia boards, there was no fascia boards put up, maybe one.
Okay.
And then I put
Let's
up
back
one.
up for a second. How do you know what was supposed to be done?
I was out there.
Okay. But how do you know what needs to be done to repair your property? Do you work on properties, or?
Yes, I have experience in
Okay.
a lot of different areas, so
Okay.
I do
and-
know what goes up, what's supposed to go up. If it's rotten, take it down and replace it.
Okay.
I do have experience in it.
Okay, well, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so in
Yes,
your
ma'am.
experience then, you watched the work being done, and you were disagreeing with the work.
Yeah,
that was
because
being done.
he is my landlord, or she is my landlord, but he's her husband, so they are my landlord. So
Okay.
I'm wanting to make sure it was.
And so what did you
done
see
right.
going wrong?
There was just rotten board being covered with fascia cover. It just wasn't being done right at all.
Okay, and when you saw this happening, what did you do? Did you contact your landlord?
Yes, I did.
Okay, who
I
did you
told
talk to?
him, Josiah.
Okay.
I talked to him because I told her that we got into an argument over what was being done, and
Okay, let's back up a minute. So you actually confronted the people doing the work
yes,
and said, this isn't right.
Yes, it's not. Yeah.
Okay.
I told her.
What happened during that time?
It just got heated between me and my sister, and nothing really after that, because I.
Okay, did your sister disagree with your
Oh, yes,
assessment?
definitely.
She
She-
said it was being done fine?
Yes.
Okay. And did you explain to her that you watched him cover up rotted wood?
Yes.
Okay, and what was her response to that?
She asked them, and he said no, but that was about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you and your sister got into a disagreement about the way the work was being done, and then
'cause she
you
wasn't there.
contacted Mr. Myers.
Yeah, because she wasn't there at the present time when a couple sides was being done. So
Okay.
when the work was actually being done.
All right. So you saw the work being done that your sister did not see,
Yes, ma'am.
and you were trying to explain to her
Yes,
what was
ma'am.
happening when she wasn't there.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And how did she respond to you?
She told me that it was done right and that they know what they're doing, and that was basically it.
Okay. So she was defending her workers.
Yes.
And saying that no, you were mistaken and they were
Yes.
doing it right. Okay. So
Which
when
is
did you
understandable.
contact Mr. Myers
Um,
to tell him about all this?
after the exchangement, after
Okay.
the heated exchange.
Well, they were working out on the side.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that was in March. Okay, so
In March, yes.
and what did you tell Mr. Myers?
I just told him basically there was nothing getting done right. Obviously, he knew that it wasn't seamless gutters, and the fascia board that was supposed to be replaced was not replaced. Downspouts wasn't hung right. One fell off right as soon as probably maybe 2 days later. It blew off. I don't know how. I mean, you're putting decking screws in gutter. It's not gonna stay. You gotta put the right screws. You have to do the work right. There's things that if you don't do it right, it's not gonna stay. It's just gonna blow off the house, and that's exactly what it did. And one piece of fascia cover blew off a shed. We had to put back up. Me and
All right.
the landlord's husband.
All right, and so then once you notified Mr. Myers about what you witnessed, the work being done, did you have any further conversations with your sister?
No. After that, it just become too heated, and I haven't talked to her since.
Okay. Okay. And do you have anything else that you want to say about what you saw in this incident?
I know she was trying to get the work done. She was trying to do it. She was trying to make sure it was done. I understand that. But there's just things that needed to be done right, and it just wasn't right. So and I'm sorry all this took place. I really am. I'm heartbroken at that it took place, because they're both, he's with my landlord, and he's actually helped me out a lot, and she's my sister, and I'm just heartbroken over it. So,
Yeah.
but I just know what it is. It is what it is, and it wasn't done right. So that's all I got to say.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You may resume your seat. And Mr. Myers, you have another witness?
Well, yeah, I wasn't really
Not really sure what.
planning on her to be a witness.
Okay.
So,
That's your final-
If you want more information, then
No,
that's
sir.
perfectly fine with me. But
No, I just want to hear what you want to present. That's all.
okay, I think
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Then, Ms. Williams, we'll turn now to your side. If you would stand and raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter presently before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and this you do under the penalties of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. So it's the same situation you just watched. I'm going to ask you some questions, then give you plenty of time to follow up and call any witnesses you'd like to call.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right? And so Ms. Williams, some of the things I'm just going to ask you whether you agree with or disagree with. Do you agree or disagree that you entered into a contract with the plaintiff to replace fascia board as needed, fascia covers, and gutters?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you agree with that? Do you also agree or disagree that the total purchase price was intended to be $4,500?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's... Okay, do you agree or disagree that you received $3,500 in March 25 as a partial payment?
I agree.
Okay. And do you remember when you commenced the work, when you started?
It was, I believe, the end of March.
Okay. And then tell me your version of events once you began the work. So were you on site the entire time?
No, not the whole time that the work was
Okay.
being done.
Who was doing the work?
One of my workers and then my sister.
Okay, so you had 2 workers actually on site.
Yes.
Okay. 2 workers on
And I'd actually hired Bobby to do the work, and that's why he says we got into an argument because I had asked him to help put the gutter hangers in the gutters, and he didn't want to do that. So that's really why the argument happened.
Okay, so you had 2 workers on site that began work in March of 2025.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first become aware that the plaintiff was dissatisfied with your work?
The day that I was calling him, I had called him multiple times throughout the day to receive final payment, and
Okay. When was the work finished?
I would say 2 days after I started.
Finished. Okay. And so you contacted him and said, work's all done, collecting payment for the balance,
Yes,
right? Okay, so then what happened?
He refused to answer me. I'd called him all throughout the whole day, texted him, and I called my wife and I said, I had a gut feeling that I was going to end up in a situation like this due to the whole circumstances, like how I even got the job. His property was like being condemned, and I didn't want to get into it, but my mom and father just passed, and my brother didn't want to lose home, and he's like, can you help me, keep my home because of his circumstance, and, I didn't want him to lose his home because he was homeless for a while due to his, charge or whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I didn't want to, but I ended up doing it.
All right. And so you ended up, though, contracting
Yes,
to do
yes,
these things.
yes.
All right. And so then when you called to inform the plaintiff that the work was completed and that you were demanding payment, what happened?
He refused to answer me.
Okay. And so,
He had spoke to my brother multiple times that day. I had actually spoke to my brother that morning. And he had answered my brother on multiple occasions. He just wasn't answering me. And
all right. So when did you eventually have a conversation with him?
After I called my wife had called me from work, and I said, babe, I can't get a hold of him. I think he's ghosting me. I had that feeling that he was going to do that to me. And she's like, what's his number? I'll try to call. So she had called him, and he answered up first call.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, here we go. And he told her she had
All right.
asked him.
So everything he told her, she's going to have to testify about.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, unless you were on the call. So we'll hold that for a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So then did you have any direct conversation with the plaintiff?
Yes, he had called me after my wife had spoke to him and said, hey, I'll be over there. I'm not ignoring you. I'm like, it seems like you're ignoring me because I've called you like 15 times. I've texted you. I've told you the work is done. I'm not leaving the premises until I get
Okay,
final
so
payment.
you were actually on the premises.
Yes,
Okay.
Finishing up, putting on the back piece of facial board. There was a piece of...
All right. So did you agree to meet at the premises?
Yes, he said, I'll be over there shortly.
Okay. So you then met the plaintiff at the premises. When would this have been? Sometime in March?
Yeah, this end of March, yep.
Okay, met. All right. So when you met there, did he explain to you why he was dissatisfied?
He said that he asked for 6. I have other text messages, but I couldn't. I didn't get them. But he said where it says white and brown, them are the colors that they had in 5-inch. They didn't have 6-inch. They had black and brown and 6-inch. I told him that. He said white, so he chose white. And he said, I prefer seamless, but it doesn't have to be seamless. And I have the text messages of this.
All right, I'll need to see those.
Okay, I don't have them with me. It's on my phone. But he had said, okay, that's whatever, that's fine. He's like, I'll pay. He's like, there's a hole on the front of the apartment that I had just noticed that was condemned that same day that the back apartment of his property was condemned. There was a hole above his door, and he said, if you fix that hole, I'll give you $700. I said, that's not even a part of the gutters. And so I fixed it to the best of my ability because there's nothing to screw there, really. I just tried to do whatever I could to help the property not be condemned because they were going to kick my brother out. So I did that. I texted him a picture of that. There was one piece of facial board that needed to be replaced that my brother was speaking on that was rotted. I had seen that, and I had made my guy come back and say, and I had him fix it, replace it, everything. I sent him a picture of it and a video of him replacing the piece that was rotten. And then I texted him, and he said, no, I'm not going to pay you. And I knew that's what was going to happen. He's like, I'm not going to pay you. I'm not happy with it. I wanted 6-inch. I said, you chose white and 5-inch. That's what they had. You told me that it didn't have to be seamless, that you prefer it to be seamless. I said, but if we go seamless, it's going to cost you like $7,000 because I'm going to have another company come out, run the gutters, everything. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to keep this price. And I was informed that he was the homeowner. When I had spoke to him, and also when we had the mediator, he had said he was the homeowner. I never knew that he was a contractor. I told him, like, hey, I'm going to put a mechanics lien. Like, I've done everything you asked me to do. I replaced the fascia board covering. It's hard to tack into some of them because the property had caught on fire. And some of the trusses that go into the roof, you can't scab into because there's fire damage. So I wasn't paid to come in and take off the roof, put new trusses in. I was paid to put up the fascia board, which I did. It's all used with exterior screws. All the fascia board was tacked in. The gutters were put in. They had seam fillers, which is perfect. You can buy the stuff from Lowe's. That's what I go through Lowe's, Contractor, Pros. And everything was done right. The only thing that he complained about was one piece of fascia board that I had replaced that was rotten. There was like a 5-foot section that I did not see. I was not there. That's the piece that my brother was talking about. I had them replace that, put the gutter back up, and then he had me do this. And he's like, I'll give you $700. And I'm like, instead of getting completely, pardon my French, screwed out of the whole $1,000 that he owed me, I was like, okay, that's fine. That's enough for me to pay my guys, my people that did it. I'll take a hit, whatever. And he's like, okay, I agree to that. He said, text me a picture of it, and that's that. That's a picture. I have no clue what that is, but I have sent him a picture of the piece that was going and the video of him changing the fascia board, like he said, and he said he would send the payment. I told him it was done. He sent me a text saying he's not paying, he's not doing it, and I kind of figured that's what was going to happen. And then I was like, I'm just going to put a mechanics lien on it. Like, this is wrong. You can't do this. You're taking advantage of people. I got involved because my mom and dad passed away. Mom passed in January, my dad passed in March. My brother was going to lose his house because the property was condemned. I was there picking up my little brother, kind of got through into the mess. I didn't want to do it in the first place, but I did it so my brother wouldn't lose his home because it was, being condemned. The city came in. I talked to the city. They said it needed gutters. If it doesn't get gutters, they're going to condemn all of them. And I'm like, okay, I'll help. Clearly, the gutters are up to the city standards or the house would be condemned. That's what I don't understand. The city was involved. If the gutters were that bad, the city would have said, hey, your house is condemned. Clearly it's not. My brother's still living there. It's obviously livable. I don't understand what the problem is other than he didn't want to pay me. And I feel bad for my brother being thrown into this because he feels obligated. He has to come up here and deal with this because if not, he might lose his home. And that's where I feel bad. Because I should have just let it be. And I didn't file the mechanic's lien because I didn't want to deal with it. I just lost my mom and dad. I just didn't want to deal with it. I said, I'll just eat the loss.
All right. So, you, if I understand you correctly, the plaintiff is the one who chose the 5-inch seamed gutters.
Yes.
Was the original agreement for 6-inch non-seamed?
No, he said what he had told me when we first spoke, the very first time we spoke, he said he would prefer 6-inch seamless. If I had my text, it says prefer in it. And I told him, I said, can I call you? And I explained to him, like, hey.
So then, okay, Plaintiff's Exhibit A.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
would have gotten a copy of.
Yes, ma'am.
And it says here, you want black gutters on the house in Newark, correct? They only have 5-inch on black. The response, I'm flexible on color for that one to get 6-inch. What are the options for 6-inch?
And it was black and brown that was for 6-inch. He said, okay, then white is best. I said white.
Yeah. Okay. Where do you see here that it says only black and brown?
I don't see that on here, but
Okay. Okay, so you were discussing 6-inch. He said, I want options for 6-inch gutters.
black and brown.
Okay. All right. You claim to have texts from the plaintiff indicating he would be agreeable to a non-seamed gutter
Yes.
in 5 inches.
Yes.
I'll need to see that.
I have it on my phone. Is
All
that
right,
okay?
I'll need to see it. And give me the date of the text. All right, ma'am, first read out loud. First read out loud to me the date of the text you're referring
March
to.
25th at 8 p.m.
Of 2025?
Yes.
Okay. And read me what it says.
It says I'm flexible on the color for that. I said, okay, white is best. What are the options for 6? And it says brown. I said white and brown. And the roof is black. I said the brown will look horrible. He said white. I said, okay, I'm crunching the numbers. And he says it doesn't matter. He said I definitely prefer seamless. When I called and told him, I said, do you have a minute to talk? Because on down it says, like we were talking about like the payment stuff. And then I said, do you have a minute to talk? And that's when we had spoken. I said, I'm not going to be able to get seamless in that. And he said, that's fine as long as they're together. And I said, they'll be together. That'll be fine.
All right, I'll need to see that text.
I don't have that. That was over the phone.
I see. And so he agreed to modify your contract.
Yes.
To 5-inch seamed gutters.
And I have
ma'am,
a
just a
picture of the
second.
contract.
Just a second. Okay, that's what I'll need to see.
If it'll let me pull it up. Because he said, I told him, I was like, it doesn't have,
All
It's the
right,
contract.
let's see.
Yeah, it's
This
right
is the
there.
contract.
I can't pull it all the way
Will you
up.
show it to him? Okay.
I also have a copy of it.
Because I didn't put.
Does anybody have a copy of it printed?
No, ma'am.
I don't.
It won't let me click up on it.
Somebody try to print it out? No, I'll do it.
I thought I entered that in with.
Well, sir, where would it be?
I don't know. I thought that
Okay.
was in the original documents that I
Okay,
brought.
I'm looking through. If
But
you
I-
could point to me where you think it might be, it would be helpful.
Because
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I had told him, I said, I'm not going to put a size or anything on there because we're still discussing that. And the color and everything, because he hasn't picked it. And he said, okay, I need a contract before I send the payment. So that's why I said that.
Can you see?
I'll try. I don't know.
Just
I might be, if I can, I might be able to text him and maybe click it and pull it up.
Did you email it to me?
Yeah. Yeah, I can try to. let me, I'll just put, I'll just
say
send him an
those.
H, and then it'll pop up the thing.
You said you wanted it emailed?
Here you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
If someone can email it to me.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Let me see what I can make.
All right, so while she is attempting to print that, when you had the negotiations regarding the size and color of the gutters, when did you finally agree to what you were going to do?
Before
Did-
he had sent the payment.
Okay, so did you quote the purchase price based upon 5-inch seamed gutters?
Yes. No, yes, it was all, I made sure I got exactly what he wanted before I priced it, because
Okay.
if you don't do that as a contractor, you can lose money.
All right,
So-
so you had this,
It won't.
okay,
If
I'm
someone
gonna,
can email me. that
I can
picture.
email it to you.
Okay.
and I want to get a print copy for everybody to look at so we can all refer to the same language.
Okay, here's my email right there.
While she's attempting to print that, Ms. Williams?
Yes, ma'am.
The 3-part document that you received earlier,
Yes, ma'am.
these are, on the 3rd page, Plaintiff's Exhibit C, are photographs that the plaintiff testified he took after you completed the work. Can you comment about these?
Honestly, I have I like I had spoke. He had me do that. That wasn't the piece that was above the door. Wasn't even a part of my contract. It was, he told me if I did that, he would give me my money. So I threw that in there. The top right.
So are you talking about the bottom?
Yeah, the bottom right.
Photo. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that's not even part of this contract.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so then let's talk about the gutters up here.
The gutters on this piece, the very top left one.
Okay,
The board, the house was caught on fire, right? And the fascia board, I couldn't get into the trusses. We would have to take the roof off to get into the trusses to scab out further, which I wasn't going to get into that because that's not what I do. And I had told him that. I explained to him that,
so is it your testimony
yes.
that the work that you did displayed by that picture?
No, this is not what I left, no.
Okay, so this is not the condition that you left the property in?
No, these are, no.
All
No.
right. Do you have photographs of your completed
No,
work?
I do not. I
Okay.
had a video and everything, and I tried. My sister had broke her phone. She had took videos and pictures of it and everything, and she had all that. I was gonna get that, but her
Okay.
phone had broke.
Okay, so the plaintiff's testimony that this is the condition of the property that you left after you finished is not correct.
No, ma'am, it's not.
Okay.
I have a picture on my phone of that, of the this wood piece put together. That just clearly looks like someone went over there and took the screws out. I have no clue. That look, should be a gutter on every seam. I put a gutter hanger so the seams don't come apart. It flaps underneath the gutter lip and screws into the fascia. So I don't know why there would always be one there, because I personally put the gutters hangers in there because I want them to be on there correctly.
All right. So now we have received a paper copy of a document dated March 26, 2025. Ms. Williams, is this the estimate you sent to the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how, so you do not mention in here size of gutters, you just have gutters?
Yes, because
Okay.
he had not made up his decision on the color and stuff that he had chose.
Okay, as of March 26th.
Yes.
So you printed this out and computed a cost.
Yes.
Based on what? What did you, what went
On
into this estimate?
materials and labor, ma'am.
Okay, so the to totally replace all the gutters, the fascia boards, the fascia aluminum covers, and something about pieces
Of trusses.
Trusses.
Yes, ma'am.
and to replace downspouts,
Yes.
everything would be a total of $4,500.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And
And he had, the reason it was, I had told him if he wanted seamless, it was going to be about $6,700. And he said, no, I can't afford that. I don't want to put that much into it. And I said, okay, well, we'll go seamed and we'll do the white 5-inch. And he said, okay, that's fine. Because he didn't want to pay that much for that property. Because it was already, he said there was already, he had to do, it was like the back apartment was being condemned. My brother's apartment was about to be condemned because there was so much work that had to be done there. He just wanted to get it done so the city could okay it so they wouldn't condemn it as of that time.
okay.
So I said, okay, that's fine.
Okay. Now, the plaintiff testified that there were certain pieces of this work he had no problems with. It's the gutters that he's got the problems with here, primarily. And he testified in his estimate that you completed correctly for approximately $1,400 worth of work.
I thought I said 15.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, so I will be corrected if that is the 1,500, right? So he says, excluding the gutter issue, that he agrees that you've done $1,500 worth of work that he has no problems with. Okay, so would you agree that the cost difference is the gutters?
I don't
So
agree.
4,500. So how much would the gutters, when you estimated the gutters, okay, that would leave about $3,000 attributable to the gutter replacement and the downspouts. Is that about what you estimated? About $3,000 for
For the gutters and everything?
yeah, for the gutters.
I wouldn't say about $3,000. No, I'd say about 14 or 15 for the material and stuff.
Well, but
That's
you've got
not
labor
including the
too.
labor.
Yeah.
I would say about $2,000 for about $2,100 for all that, for the putting the gutters up.
No. I'm not talking about the gutters. He said he's perfectly satisfied with everything but the gutters.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so
putting the
how
gutters
much,
up.
yeah, how
and
much would the gutters cost?
About
you?
$2,100 for the material and labor.
Okay, and do you have any receipts or any
No, ma'am.
documents to show how much you spent
No,
on
ma'am.
materials?
No.
Or how you broke down this job?
No, I usually have it on my pro account, but I didn't bring it. No, I'm sorry. I apologize.
And do you believe you did all of the work that the contract required in a workmanlike manner?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have anything else you would like to say?
No, not right now, no.
All right, and then
Not
you
that I
may
can think
call
of.
your witness. What's the name of your witness?
Casey Sammons.
Miss Sammons?
Mm-hmm.
You raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter presently before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and this you do under the penalties of perjury?
Yes, Mother.
You may be seated. And Ms. Sammons, why don't you tell us where you are connected into this with any personal knowledge of these events?
I was actually there for a little bit of the timing also.
There meaning on the site?
On the site.
job site?
Yes.
When were you on the job site?
When Jonda and her brother got into a disagreement.
Okay, that the last witness testified
Yes.
to, that he came out and said, this isn't looking right to me.
Yes.
Okay, so you were there at
Yes.
that time. Okay,
Yes.
tell me what happened.
Actually, he was working with Jonda, on that job, and was doing the facial board, and he was doing the job of the facial board and doing the stuff around the shed, and he was not. He was like sitting around playing on his phone, not doing his work, and Joe was paying him, and Joe was like, he's not doing his job. He's not doing his job. And I'm like more like the supervisors, so like when I come on our jobs and stuff like that, I like take like the lead sometimes, just like, you need to go do your job. And so
So the defendant was complaining that the last witness, who was one of her paid employees to do this work, was not
doing
performing.
anything. He was just
Okay.
playing on his phone, doing nothing. And so I was like, well, tell him to go and actually go do some work. If you're paying him money, go tell him to go do some work. And so that's when she got on him like, Bob, I'm paying you money, you need to go do your job. And that's when they got into a heated discussion. And then he called her some names, and then that's how it all got started. And that's when he started pulling tolls, and that's how all that stuff heated up. That's how that all started. But the heated discussion,
All right.
because she got on him because he wasn't doing nothing.
Did you ever have a direct conversation with the plaintiff
Yes, ma'am.
about this job? Tell me
Yes.
when and what.
So I do not know I was in March of 2025. I do not know the date, but Jonda called me and stated that he wasn't picking up the phone call when she was trying to get the last payment done. And she said that she called him multiple times and texted him, and that he was refusing to give any, calling, texting, just avoiding her completely. I was like, well, give me his phone number. Let me try to call him and see if he picks up. And so I called him from my phone, and he picked up on like the second ring. And I informed him, I'm like, this is Jonda's wife, Krissy. She has been trying to get a hold of you all day. You've been ignoring her. You need to get a hold of her. She has finished the job. You need to pay her. Stop avoiding her. You need to give her a call and let her, and go and speak with her. And he is like, well, I've been busy. I'm like, well, you have somebody who you're supposed to be, that's working for you. You need to make sure that you stay in contact with them and not avoid them. And so I got off the phone, and supposedly he called her and communicated with her. And then I was actually sitting in the vehicle when he did come over to check on the house to see if everything was completed.
All right, so you were in the vehicle on the premises.
Yes, ma'am.
At the time the the plaintiff came to the premises.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, and what happened?
He actually went around to the house, looked at everything. He did state something about the mentioning of the door, the piece of wood that wasn't a part of her job, the picture that at the bottom of the page. He did state something about that. If she would do that, then he would send her the payment. He was literally only there for maybe 12, maybe 15 minutes. And he said after she completed that and put up the side piece on the left side of the house, at the top of the gutter, that he would send her the payment as long as she would send the pictures and make sure that everything was completed. After she finished that, it was about an hour or two. While all this was going on, his witness and his witness's wife was causing issues on the inside. The cops had to be called there because it was chaos, complete chaos, because they were acting wild and causing conflict with everybody and threatening everybody. And so we're trying to get everything, and we told the cops everything is fine. We're just trying to get everything done. So she sent all the pictures to the plaintiff. And then he stated that he wasn't going to pay her. She actually tried to inform him about the witness and his wife having issues, causing problems on the site, and us having issues of getting it done.
Were you present when the plaintiff refused to pay?
Yes,
Okay, what were his exact words?
it was actually just through text.
Oh, okay, so you were reading texts.
I did not read text. She was informing me verbally that he
Okay,
was refusing.
so you were not part of this. Somebody else was telling you what was happening.
Right, while I was sitting
Okay, I want to know only what you were personally involved in.
Yes.
Okay, did you ever have a direct conversation with the plaintiff about
Just on the
payment? Okay, and on the phone, what did you discuss about payment?
I did not discuss all
Okay.
payment. Yeah.
And then all the other conversations, if I understand correctly, happened via text between the two of them.
Yes.
And you were just told about that, okay? This is, ma'am, I just need you to answer these questions, all right? So everything else that you know about this, you were told by somebody else who was involved, rather than you physically being present.
No, I physically seen. She was telling me when I was sitting right there with her. With
I
the
understand, but she's telling you what's on a text.
Phone. Yes.
Okay. You didn't get the text.
No,
She
no,
got
it was
the
on her phone.
She
Yes,
got
it was
the
on.
text, and she's
Yes,
telling
Mama.
you about what's happening.
Yes, she
Okay.
was telling me
Okay.
on
Now
her
I
text.
understand better.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. All right. And anything else?
No, my honor.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You may step down. Okay. And Miss Williams, do you have anything else you would like to present?
Not to present, no, but I will say that she had texted him. They had via text messages of where she had told him, like, hey, we're going to put a mechanic's lien on your property and stuff like that. My wife and him did exchange, and he said, whatever, pretty much, it doesn't matter, I'm not paying her.
All right.
And then the day that he come and, inspected the property, he said if I fix that on exhibit, I think it's, I don't know what the last page.
The photographs?
Yeah, the bottom right. If I fixed that, he would send me the payment. She was there. She was present during the whole disagreement between my stepbrother and me and
Okay,
everything.
so you were physically present
Mm-hmm.
when he came to inspect the property. Your testimony is he told you if
Mm-hmm.
you agreed to complete that item over the door,
Yes.
that he would pay you in full.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you complete the item over
Yes,
the door?
ma'am. He has a picture of it, but I don't. Someone unscrewed it. I can clearly see that someone unscrewed that.
All right.
It's the bottom right.
So what did the bottom right photograph
Yes, ma'am.
look like when you finished?
It was a gaping hole. Before it was a gaping hole, but when I finished, it was completely flush. I have a picture of it on my phone as well.
Okay, I'll need to see it.
Do I email you that as well, or do you
No,
just need the
I'll
picture?
just look at a picture.
Okay, sorry, I apologize. And then I also have a video of my guy. There's a piece of facial board on the left that she had said about that he had asked me to change, and I had changed. I have a video of him changing that as
and
well.
he testified he's not talking about that. He's talking right now only about gutters.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And sir, did you see this photograph?
Yes.
Okay. Were you sent this photograph by the defendant? She said she sent it to you to prove that.
It's possible that she sent it.
Okay.
I'm not going to say she didn't.
All right. So then, we're going to talk in a minute about how this happened. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So on the and then
Thank you.
when you were on site
Mm-hmm.
with the plaintiff
Yes, ma'am.
and he was looking at everything,
Mm-hmm.
did he talk to you about gutters?
Yeah, he had said something about how one of the on exhibit. I had tried to communicate with you about it. I think we kind of skimmed over it, ma'am. The first picture on the top left, the trusses, it's the very top. He said that it was facing down a little bit too far, but I told him that I cannot lift your roof and replace the trusses because your
Okay.
property is caught on fire.
Let's back up.
Okay.
I need to be more specific.
Okay.
Did he tell you when he inspected the property that these were the wrong gutters?
When he inspected the property,
Yeah, when he went out there that day, looked at it, did he say, these are the wrong gutters?
he thought they were 4-inch
Okay,
and they're 5.
all right, but he told you they were the wrong gutters.
He said they was, but they wasn't though. They were 5-inch.
Okay. All I'm asking is what he said.
Yes.
I'm not here to tell what's true or not. I just want to know what was said. Okay?
Yes.
Did he tell you he was dissatisfied with the gutters and they were the wrong size?
Yeah, he said that.
Okay.
Yes.
What was your response?
I responded with, "These are what you had asked for. You had asked for the white. You had asked for. I gave you everything you asked for." And that's when he was like, "Okay, yeah." I don't know if he had forgot the conversation that we had had over the phone, or what. And he said, then he was like, "Okay, that's fine." And he went around the house, and that's when he told me if I fixed that hole in the thing.
Okay, so at some point in this conversation, while you're on the premises, your testimonies, the plaintiff told you that these gutters were acceptable.
Yes.
And that he would pay you for them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And anything else you'd like to say?
No, not really. I think I said it all. I just know that I felt like the whole time he was trying to ghost me to avoid the final payment. He tried, like, when we first initiated the contract, I kind of knew it was going to happen, like some sort of like this, because he didn't even want to pay the full price of what needed to be paid because of the circumstance that he was in with the property. That's why he hurried up and did it. And when I was there, the city, another gutter company came, and the city also came, and I spoke to them, and they said that the gutters looked fine, because they thought the guy that had come out, the contractor that he had asked to come out, went around the house and looked at him, and my wife was there, my other employees were there too, and they said they didn't understand why he wanted to take them down, and I was like, we're putting them up. He's like, oh, they look good job, and he left, even the city. I don't understand what the problem is.
All right, so then now we will turn back to the plaintiff's opportunity for rebuttal. So, Mr. Myers, this is your opportunity to rebut. That means take anything that the defendant said and give your counter version if you disagree with it. All right? It's not a repeat of what you've already done. So just the things that she testified to or her witness testified to that you disagree about. So let's begin with this written agreement. That's dated March 26th. And so it does not, it has a price and it has gutters, but it doesn't have a size or color. So, sir, why don't you tell me about when you believe you agreed to the size and color of the gutters that you wanted under this contract?
Yep. So, as you can see in Exhibit A, that was my understanding of the contract and the size, and there's a reason I texted it was so I would have written confirmation, not just, a verbal discussion that took place that there was no proof of. And I don't know how I could have been more clear about wanting 6-inch gutters. I was even willing to sacrifice the black gutters that I would have preferred to get 6-inch gutters in white. So, as I will read in the conversation, Tuesday, March 25th at 8 p.m., she said, "You want black gutters on the house in Newark, correct? They only have 5-inch in black." I said, "I'm flexible on colors for that one to get 6-inch. What are the options for 6-inch? And she said, "Okay, then white is best." She said white and brown. I'm assuming that was the options for 6-inch gutters. And so I said white. And she said, "And the roof is black, so brown will look horrible." And I completely agree. Black would have looked terrible. But white and black, there's no clash there. So that's why we went with white gutters.
All right, do you have any reference to seamless?
Yes, I do further down in the thread there. and
I'm talking about prior to you making your partial payment.
Yes, in this text thread, there's also reference to seamless, and I mean, maybe Bobby doesn't remember it, but I'm pretty sure if you asked him about whether what we talked about was seamless or not, he would remember the conversation.
Well, you're the plaintiff.
Yep.
You have to prove what the contract is.
Yep.
So, right now, I have this proving what the contract is.
Yep.
So, and based upon this document, you made a payment.
Yep.
So, you began a contract by making a payment right now with only this information available to me. So, I just need to know where, at what time, and how you believe this contract was somehow changed
Well,
or added to.
the conversation took place before she sent that contract, and so I just assumed,
All
based
right.
on our conversation, that
Well,
when she said
okay,
gutters,
okay, sir, just if you listen carefully to me, okay?
Yes.
I'm asking very specific questions. You did provide me with a text that where it was, you believe it was clear that you wanted 6-inch white gutters, okay? Where is the conversation about seamless before you made the payment?
it is also in that same
All right,
conversation.
I'll need to
thread.
see it.
Can you use my phone? I also, you asked for an estimate from another company. I also have that pulled up as well.
Okay.
I apologize. That conversation got reset.
All right.
Looking in the wrong place for it. Just below, you can see white is the reference to this, and then below that on the thread, you can see that she was under the impression that seamless gutters were what were going to be done. Because she responded to me with, you wanted seamless on that property. And I said, yes, I definitely prefer seamless.
Okay. Okay, and then the response is that Ms. Williams would be, quote, crunching the numbers, and then she followed up with this
Yes.
the following day. Okay. Okay. And so by the time you received this document, you had already agreed by text to white 6-inch gutters that you preferred to be seamless.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and do you have anything else you would like to say?
I mean, I would dispute her statement that, well, maybe she believed this, but at no point, to my knowledge, was Bobby ever at risk of losing his place of residence. I've been working with property maintenance, and his unit was never condemned. There are 2 units on the premise that were condemned, one because of low ceiling height, actually both of them because of a lower than is allowable ceiling height, which is being remedied. But both of the units that are currently occupied are considered by the city to be habitable and not condemned.
And sir, another question about your experience as a contractor. How the defendant testified that seamless gutters are much more expensive than seamed ones. Would you agree with that or disagree?
I would agree with that.
Okay. And so when you saw that the total price for all this work was $4,500, and you thought you were getting the 6-inch seamless gutters, didn't it seem very low to you
No.
in your experience?
No, I have another estimate that I'm perfectly happy to enter into
Okay,
evidence.
well then talk to me about it. Just tell me what it
It
says.
is $4,800.
And is it for seamless
6-inch seamless gutters.
Okay.
So she was right in there. She could get to it a little quicker, which was a factor. because I'm trying to get things done as quickly as possible for property maintenance, because you don't want to trample on their goodwill, if that makes sense, you know. So I was trying to move quick on it, and so I appreciated that she could get to it more quickly, and she was about $300 cheaper, which isn't extreme in my opinion.
Okay. And do you have anything finally you would like to say?
I do not believe so.
All right. So here's how the process works from this point forward. I will take your dispute and apply Ohio law to your dispute. The court will issue a written decision regarding the outcome of this case. Do not expect that written decision for several weeks. This court is overcrowded, and I hear cases and decide them in the order I hear them. This whole stack you see here, plus another whole stack that's behind me that you can't see, are trials that I've heard and that I have to write decisions on. Okay? I line you up in the order. No one will forget you. It's being listed here on the court's official docket. You'll receive a document indicating this matter has been submitted to the magistrate who will issue written ruling. Once you receive that, that means you can't be forgotten. You're going to feel forgotten after about 4 weeks. Do not call, okay? Because it's not going to help you any, all right? I just want to try to explain to you. Courts are totally backed up. And we work the hardest we can work with the amount of time we've got, all right? So you'll get that document in the next 3 to 5 business days indicating I heard your case. It has been submitted for a written decision, and a written decision will be issued. Now, the last thing is the written decision goes out in the mail. Do we have everybody's current mailing address?
Yes, ma'am.
I believe so.
Okay, because it's going to go in the mail to that address. I just want to make sure everybody gets what they need. All right, Mr. Myers, do you have any questions about anything
I don't
that happened
believe so.
today, or that how the process is going to happen?
Basically, wait at least about 4 weeks.
Oh, yes, at least.
Okay.
Okay. Much longer than that. Try more like 8 to 12.
Okay.
Okay.
And at this point, performing remedies on the property, it's not going to affect the outcome, correct?
Now, this case is over now.
Perfect.
So whatever you want to do from this point forward is up to you.
Okay.
Okay, and this, I will just be deciding whether or not you have proven a breach of your contract.
Okay. There was, you said you wanted to discuss the one photo of how the wood came off. I don't know if you wanted to circle back to that or not, but I don't know how it happened. And I don't think
okay.
anybody got a ladder and crawled up there and ripped it off. I'm pretty sure it just blew off because she used trim nails to hold wood on, which is not really how you do things.
All right, and so now, Ms. Williams, do you have any questions about what happened today or what's going to happen in the future?
No, I just have one thing to say. The contract that I have written up for the $4,500, his is just for replacing the gutters. Mine was for replacing the fascia board, the soffit, and that's why it's $4,500 just for the gutters. Seamless gutters are extremely expensive. That's why my estimate was $4,500 for all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
I understood that. All right. Then this matter is over. You're free to go. And like I said, you will hear from the court. Please be patient with me as I have been patient with you today.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much.
You have a good day.
You too.
Are we free to go?
Yes, you are. Have a good day.
You
You
too.
as
Thank
well.
you.